Hello, it's time to discover science. I'd like to jumpstart my first ever fully voiced playthrough with an unforgiving but sometimes surprisingly rewarding story engine designed by Tynan Sylvester. Yes, it might seem to be just a clone of the Dwarf Fortress, which I never managed to muster the courage to play myself, and yet I feel that RimWorld has the soul of its own that somehow resonates with me. After all, Dwarf Fortress is just an extreme evolution of all the previous sandbox games. The story begins with the most brutal of all the predefined scenarios. A lonely colonist expected to go through merely a routine surgical operation in one of the lavish industrial worlds among the stars. Yet, after hours, months, or even years, she woke up in the drop pod, burning through the atmosphere of an unknown alien planet, like a falling star. Naked and afraid, without any tools or clue of what the hell happened, can she survive the deadly alien jungle and eventually escape this hell? I'll name my first colonist Tina, to honor one of my very few real-life friends. Sadly, I lost her due to my extremely poor social skills. You see, in real world, I can't even be considered a human being, not to mention a man. But let's not delve too deep into my personal failures. After all, we have gathered here to escape into the cruel and violent virtual world. I like the reality. It always allows you to try again, to have a second chance. If I get lucky and other colonists join along the way, I'll initially use their true names and later might change it depending on their quirks and or any trouble or heroic story they might get themselves into. I tried to pick the best random traits I could get for her and ended up with a compromise. As you can see, she is a careful shooter. Because of this quirk, I plan to make her our colony's dedicated sniper later on. That is, only if she survives and manages to procure any long-range weapons, of course. The most important trait, however, is the too smart one. Thanks to her big brain, she will learn all the skills much faster, which is essential for the only pair of working hands around the colony. However, the increased mental break threshold might prove to be a very serious downside. It will be very important to keep her happy at all times. The tough trait is also very useful, since it should drastically increase the chances of her survival in the inevitable future fights. Her burning passions are in the construction, plans, and social skills. I consider construction plans to be the most important skills for the lone survivor, since her comfort, safety, sustenance, and healing supplies depends on these skills. Social will also be very handy down the line, since it will allow for more favorable trade deals and prisoner recruitment. Of course, let's not plan so far into the future. After all, she must somehow capture the prisoner first. Thanks to her too smart trait, the learning speed in her burning passion skills reaches a whopping 262%. Even normal passion skills sport a respectable 175% experience gain speed. Moreover, thanks to this invaluable trait, even fields that are not interesting for her at all, but are vital for her survival, like mining, crafting, and medical, have pretty decent learning speed of 61%, compared to a meager 35% base speed for such skills. Ironically, despite being so smart, she is abysmal in the intellectual skill. I hope that our colony would be able to find a suitable dedicated researcher soon, otherwise our technological level will remain grounded for a long time. Apparently, she also never heard of anything about crafting before. This is one of the major compromises on my end. Without the crafting skill of at least 2, she won't be able to craft a short bow for herself. As you might guess, having a ranged weapon is one of the pivotal aspects of her survival. Her biological age is 26 years, while her chronological age is a whopping 577 years. She spent a real long time hibernating. In a way, she is a real time traveler. Her backstory is quite interesting too. She is a slave turned furniture builder. Strangely, making furniture is considered a part of the building skill, not the crafting one. Evidently, it's obvious that I started the game before the recording process began. Don't panic, it lasted for just a few real-life minutes. It's not like Tina could achieve much in this amount of time. She ran to this side of the map, over here, chopped some trees, crafted a simple wooden club, and killed the rat with it. You can see the remains of the poor creature here, near the butchering table. Initially, I thought to build my base near that small hill at the edge of the map, but then I decided to move it closer to the center of the map. Her drop pod landing place is close by. Notice the steel chunk near the river. I instructed her to build this very primitive shelter and a bonfire to cook that rat into a meal. At first, I wanted to use the club to send rats to a horny prison until I could have enough leather to craft some rudimentary clothes. As you can see, there is enough of these creatures running around the map. However, I decided against such a strategy, since hunting animals in melee, even as small as rats, can still cause injuries and even lethal infection. Not to mention, running around the map chasing rats was a pretty stupid thing to do so early after arrival. As such, the closing problem remains one of the most pressing ones on the list, and I'm not sure how to tackle it just yet. So far, the story is some kind of a pause simulator. I'm deeply sorry for such a lengthy delay. Let's finally jump into action. First things first. I want to instruct our naked beauty to plant some strawberries. Yes, the jungle biome is ripe with all the manner of wild foods like berries and the plentiful animal specimens. But since gaining a ranged weapon is out of the question for the foreseeable future, she can only count on the vegetarian menu. Wild berries won't sustain for long, so getting additional harvest is essential for the survival. Since currently I have no time and resources to build a proper stove, and our only cook's skill being firmly planted at zero, having tasty food that can be eaten raw should be a great advantage for her. Thankfully, her high starting skill in plants allows me to just go for it. After digging through some mud, Tina decides to rest a bit by relaxing socially near the fire. I wonder how she manages to do that without any other living soul around her. Maybe that half-eaten rat over there provides her much-needed company. Good job on that field, slave. Just kidding, dear. I know that your troubled past still haunts you in nightmares. Together, we'll get through this. For now, let's dig out your cramped shelter a little. As a bonus, we'll get some valuable steel resource. Sadly, her mining speed is pretty abysmal, so it takes forever to mine out just a single chunk of a steel vein. Her current mood is even worse than her manion skill. She is sweaty, but at the same time soaking wet from the rain, naked, bashing at the rock in a pitch-dark, cramped cave, which is her awful bedroom, while also feeling intense pain from an old stab scar on her left arm. And worst of all, she ate without a table. How could I fail her so hard? Eating without a table is the cardinal sin. I am a very bad manager. Let's stop this torturous exploitation of our poor girl and give her a chance to have some sleep after an exhausting working day. Thanks to her building skill, she managed to create an excellent quality bed. The comfort provided by this divine feather cushion might be the only thing standing between her survival and a disastrous mental break. After a thankfully uneventful night, I want her to build a small hoopstone post. This would diversify her entertainment from beyond socializing with a dead rat, while also providing a tiny boost to her shooting skill. Since it will take at least 3 days for our strawberries to mature, for now, the only thing on Tina's menu is wild berries. I hope she won't get sick because of it. Oh, she's doing that socialization thing again. Let's see if she continues to do it. If I instruct her to consume the remains of her friend, she would definitely not like it, and her mood will deteriorate substantially from eating raw meat. But since I can't afford to construct a proper freezer yet, I want her to utilize all the available nutrition as efficiently as possible. Not to mention, she would benefit from a hefty amount of protein to balance her wild berries diet. But work can't wait forever. I want her to start the laborious day by getting more wood for a vital base extension. Her room should be enlarged to improve the mood and as a bonus to get more indoor storage space. Constructing a chair and a table should also make her much happier. Since her mining speed is a slug-like, I'll build some additional walls rather than trying to tunnel through the hill. Shelves should provide more space-efficient storage and make this hybrid bedroom storage room much less ugly. As boring as it is, the routine resource and food gathering must continue if Tina wants to survive and prosper. Some of you might have noticed that Need Defenses alert in the bottom right corner of the screen. This one was quite concerning to me ever since it appeared, since it indicates that enemy raids might start any moment now. First attacks should not be very numerous, but considering that I have no way to acquire any ranged weapons and have no traps or other defenses ready, my only goal is very physical survival is on the line. I wouldn't count on the primitive club to protect her, considering her naked, unprotected body and almost non-existent melee fighting skill. Oh, look, another rat decided to grace us with its furry company. Despite the risks, I want you to bash this critter in. Show this Sagaraki who is the boss here. Go, Tina. Oh boy, this is what happens when you fight animals in melee. I really hoped she could finish it off with one hit. The prolonged fight with Rat is the last thing either of us desire. Right at this moment, a traveler from the distant colony arrives and wants to offer me some goods. Not like our bare-bottom colony have anything of value to trade though. But let's head back to the epic fight for survival. This is not looking good. Tina already received a number of bites and scratches from the rat, while only hitting it twice in return. For some odd reason, despite having a club equipped, she still fights the rat with her bare fists, exclusively. After a prolonged struggle, our hero finally emerges victorious. Sorry, Tina, I am truly the worst leader. Not only she'll have to waste a lot of time during her 2 bites and 4 scratches now, far worse, since her medical skill is quite low and our colony have no way to acquire medicine for now. There is actually a pretty high chance of one of the wounds getting infected. Without a constant flow of treatments with a high quality medicine, the infection could lead to a certain death. Despite having the rock bottom expectations about this trade opportunity, I want to at least check her wares. And sure, it turns out that she's not interested in buying any of our hobo stuff. Buying that medicine from her would be extremely important for us though. But alas, Our unfortunate situation requires some additional effort in order to barter with the rest of the civilized world. At the very least, Arya should act as our free bodyguard for the night. This might come in handy if other rats decide to avenge their fallen sister. After a quick berry snack, it's time for our stressed and injured founder to rest. I hope her wounds would heal as quickly as possible and without any unwanted complications. I promise to not put you in any unnecessary danger in the future, Tina. While Tina is still in the process of recuperating from her nasty wounds, I'm trying to figure out how to teach her crafting in the most efficient way possible. For now, the only reasonable way I see is making her craft a lot of wooden clubs. Yes, resource-wise this is extremely inefficient, since each club requires 40 wood. However, making knives is even less viable, since in this case our colony would instead throw away precious steel. Theoretically, it is also possible to learn crafting by making some clothing items, but this is straight out impossible at this moment, since our stockpile lacks materials even for the single shabby tribal wear. First thing in the morning, I want to deal with the rat carcass. This creature made a lot of troubles for our colonists yesterday, due to my reckless decision to engage in the fight to the death. Since its body was severely damaged in the struggle, I doubt we can extract a lot of leather from it. Nevertheless, every tiny bit helps to bring Tina closer to her dream of having a protective layer around her body. Here you have a chance to observe her trying out the horseshoes being constructed earlier. I'm terribly sorry for calling it a hoopstone ring before. I confuse it with a Neolithic equivalent. Since my colonist is naked and lacks any tools, I briefly deluded myself into thinking that she is part of a tribe. Evidently, it provides her with a great entertainment. It's interesting how she can provide a seemingly infinite amount of horseshoes out of nowhere. If only there was a way to smelt it into steel. Making a meal out of the rat's flesh is a great way to avoid spoilage. However, the time it takes is so long, I'm not sure this is a viable strategy. I can't even tell for sure if cooking the meat decreases the chance of food poisoning, with the cooking skill having the value of 0. In either case, eliminating the raw food debuff is totally worth it for her mood state. I can't risk my only colonist getting a mental break when there is still so much work to be done. After some pondering, I decided to plant a relatively small amount of cotton plants alongside the strawberries. It will take about 6 or more days for them to fully mature. I know this is quite a long time, but having some backup plan is always a good idea. After all, I'm still not sure that Tina would be able to learn crafting soon enough in order to create a short bow and hunt some animals for their valuable hides. If the leather plant fails, We could always fall back on utilizing raw cotton. Planting some hill root is also very high on my to-do backlog. Medicine is crucial for the survivability and health of the colony. Sadly, as you can see, hill root requires pretty high plant skill of 8. Tina managed to advance her craft to 7, which is impressive, but still not enough to produce our very own primitive medicine. Despite this, I think she'll be able to get a hang of it rather soon, thanks to her insane learning speed. After all, look at all these cotton and strawberry plants she can use for practice. Her rat-induced wounds are almost fully healed without any complications so far. We should all thank the great god of random number generation for this. Maybe I should sacrifice more rats for him as a tribute. However, Tina still refuses to work consistently and wants to lie down in bed all day until all her wounds are fully regenerated. Sadly, I can't provide her such luxury yet. There is no one else to step in for her. The mounds of work that piled up so far won't dissolve by itself. So for the time being, I'll go ahead and remove the bed rest assignment for her schedule. Sound the alarm! It seems that our rat-related adventures were destined to continue. Apparently, a local rat went mad and became infected with the manhunter virus, a local equivalent of rabies. This particular rat will now hunt the only human on the map relentlessly. The hunter became the hunted. I wouldn't be surprised if this rat is biologically related to one of the other 2 rodents that were slayed by Tina in the past. This event brings the lack of even some bare minimum defensive capability to my mind again. Something must be done and fast. For now, I'll post an urgent instruction to construct a pair of wooden spike traps near the only entrance to our makeshift cave dwelling. Yes, I am fully aware that wooden traps are vastly inferior to the steel counterpart, providing only 40% of damage output. However, in this particular situation, having at least wooden trap is still much better than no traps at all. The low mining skill and high value of steel prevents me from strengthening our colony as best as we can within our currently primitive technological level. The rat is getting closer and closer. The tension is rising. Can Tina finish at least one trap before this tiny monster reaches her shelter? The prospect of another hand-to-hand combat with the rat is not desirable, to put it lightly. We all know how such encounter ended last time. Glory to Tina! Thanks to her incredible skill in construction, she was able to finish the first trap just in time. The rat is here. It's time to hide, shut the door, and prepare for the worst. And just like that, with the sound of her wooden mousetrap closing, the life of another creature was terminated. It might be argued that this was an overkill to waste the whole trap on a mere rat, but I think that in this situation the health and well-being of our only colonist is more important than some wood. This map provides almost infinite amount of free-growing trees after all. After making some nutritious meal from the poor fallen creature, I want to prepare for the future encounters like this one in advance. So, already pretty exhausted Tina is forced to spend this evening hours getting some more wood and building at least one additional trap near the entryway. Honestly, I must ensure at least two traps present to the either side of the door, since I can't know for sure the exact direction of any future hostilities approach. And while at it, I also want her to finally put together some simple table with a chair. After everything that happened to her, she deserves the luxury to eat like a genuine human being. Our cotton plantation finally fleshed out. It's time for our jack of all trades to rest. I wonder what challenges will be bestowed upon her during the next day in this tropical jungle. During her well-deserved hibernation, let's examine the bed itself more closely. As I mentioned earlier, Tina managed to create an excellent quality bed in the very beginning of her journey. Since this bed is an artwork in itself, it has a very interesting image carved into it. The name of the bed is A Rat's Book, and apparently it depicts a scene of her harming a rat in a cowardly, half-hearted way, but feeling pleased with the result nonetheless. It also features two jewelers near the edge of the image, for some reason. This piece should also represent friendship in some way. The scene itself refers to the first fight with the rat that happened before the start of this recording, right after her drop boat crashed near the river. That time she got lucky and managed to instantly incapacitate the rat with only one hit of the freshly carved club. Early in the morning, I want her to start polishing her non-existent crafting skill. The need for a long-range weapon is becoming more and more pressing with each passing hour. I wish that the amount of work to carve a wooden club could be more substantial. In this case, our aspiring crafter would waste much less resources for the same amount of experience gained. Thinking about the process, I actually got an idea on how it could be improved. If she builds a stone carving table and produces some usable stone blocks from all the boulders lying around, I could initiate the production of stone clubs, which theoretically should require much more work per unit. For now, I'm sticking to the wooden strategy. It's not like our colony can utilize the soon table just yet, due to the extreme lack of resources, but I'll want to have it ready for our future projects nonetheless. This cassowary bird is a very dangerous beast. Attacking it, even with the ranged weapon, would guarantee to anger it and provoke to hunt the hunter. That hard crest on its head can inflict a significant amount of damage in melee combat. As you can see, making a tribalware requires a bit less civilian resources than the basic civilized pants and shirt combination, 60 to 80 to be exact. I plan to go for the tribalware unless our civilian resource situation won't improve drastically in the near future. Nothing more entertaining than relaxing socially with another dead rat. A pleasant surprise. This ship chunk shall provide us with valuable components and steel when we get a moment to spare to actually disassemble it. But for now, it's time to painstakingly slowly extend Tina's cramped room for better comfort and more useful space. I think it's safe to ignore this addictive drug plant's appearance for now. There are much more pressing issues on the line. At first, I planned to let this red meat expire and rot away, since this pile lacks a single more unit of meat to prepare a full meal. But now I'm experiencing a feeling of sadness when thinking about it. By adding one berry unit, Tina would be able to utilize the leftovers as efficiently as possible. The strawberries are half grown by this point. I hope my gardener can survive long enough to enjoy the literal fruits of her hard labor. Until then, I'm trying to ramp up wood collection in order to feed it into our wooden club mass production facility. During the night, while my former slave restores her strength for the next day, I'm busy planning her next assignments. Since our food stocks are practically absent and waiting for the strawberries to mature would take a while, I want her to gather this cluster of tightly growing wild berries. I hope that the amount of food provided should last for a long time. Other than this, the only remaining task for today is to kickstart our bootstrap wooden club factory, or even better, stone one. I can't stress enough how important those 2 points in crafting skill are for our colony survival. Despite botching some berries during the harvest, Tina still managed to collect a respectable amount of these delicious fruits. In order to avoid wasting time by doing multiple berry hauling trips, I'll have to use pretty annoying but necessary trick of creating a temporary high priority stockpile and then removing it after the consolidation. To motivate our founder, I handed out both end table and a dresser construction instructions. This should improve the comfort of already excellent bed even further. Its comfort value is now larger than 1, stabilizing at 1.05. Many colonies can't manage to access such high level of comfort even after months of training their dedicated builders, so Tina is really lucky in this regard. I feel sorry for her. Carving countless clubs all day long is extremely boring and dull process. I hope her dreams of crafting a bow would sustain her through this mind-numbing process. As you can see, the learning rate itself is very slow due to the skill being a non-passionate one. Eventually, with enough patience, she should get there. Thus, recruiting or capturing a dedicated craftsman in the future is our shared desire. This would allow Tina to focus on the things she likes to do the most. For now, it's time for me to wrap up this episode of her adventures in the RimWorld. Unforgiving, but in some way fair. If you wonder about the current and future difficulty settings, I plan to keep it at the Cassandra Classic Storyteller with a Strive to Survive difficulty level. The save in loading mode is truly Iron Man 1. This is to remain absolutely transparent on never using the load feature to interfere with the story, even if the save file corruption might cost me the whole run. The tropical forest biome is not the hardest one, true. However, the map itself presents additional challenges. Having a coastline and a huge river cuts down on the available building space and resource availability. Additionally, as you can see, there are no settlements nearby, so trading with the neighbors might prove to be a challenge. I also plan to never use any mods or DLCs. I have quite a non-popular negative opinion on mods in any game, not just RimWorld. By making the game significantly easier, I see many mods as straight-up cheats, and yes, I have a negative view on cheating, no matter if it's done in a single-player game or a multiplayer one. Even if some mods make the game harder or merely add some cosmetic feature, it still breaks balance, art style, uses additional computer resources, and might lead to crashes and glitches. As for the DLC, I see it as a predatory corporate practice that ultimately ruins games in the long run. Chasing the infinite profit, developers bastardize the very foundations of their games to include unnecessary and superfluous elements. Free updates that organically improve the base game, good. DLC, bad. Sorry for such a lengthy intro and outro in this, might I call it, pilot episode. It was important to touch some organizational points before moving on. Don't worry, I won't annoy you with any calls for action so popular among YouTubers these days. After all, I'm not a YouTuber. I trust my viewers to be an independent and intelligent actors who can be fully responsible for what they want to do after the video comes to an end. Farewell.